Hi, welcome to ArtC. I'm your host, Bill Horan. My guest today is sculptor, gallery owner, and businesswoman, Katherine Stanek. Katherine, welcome to ArtC.
Thank you for having me, Bill. It's always a pleasure.
Katherine, about 4 years ago, you decided to open a gallery in Philadelphia, and even then, galleries were somewhat struggling. But you decided to take on this challenge. Why did you do that?
Well, I opened the gallery not because I wanted to open a gallery, because I needed to open a gallery. I surveyed the options around me in my hometown, Philadelphia at the time, and I didn't have many. There was too many galleries closing, and the ones that were staying open had such narrow restrictions. And they're doing what they needed to do to survive. And I thought that that was a serious blow to the art world. I thought that was a serious blow to the artists. And I wanted to open a gallery that responded to the needs of the artists, the community, the followers, as opposed to the fiscal responsibilities that typically drive those decisions.
I mean, I know that you're a hard worker and a smart businesswoman. Has the gallery itself lived up to your expectations?
It exceeded my expectations. My original plan was I was going to have a studio in back and have a gallery in front, and I'll invite some friends periodically, and that'd be that. And what ended up happening is what we put together for that first exhibition was just so strong and so successful and so powerful. It was just, I saw the response of the audience, and I said, we have to do this. We have to make this a real gallery, represent artists coming later in time. We started off collaborating with curators, then saw there wasn't enough representation of local artists and local talent in these artists to be represented in other regions, but not here. So we started representing, and it just continued to domino from there.
How would you describe the style of the artist and art that's featured in your gallery, and has that really changed since you opened the gallery?
In a word, good. The work we exhibit is good work. It doesn't have to be a specific genre. We exhibit everything from pure abstraction, conceptual work, to hyper-real, to figurative, and we often exhibit them together. Right behind me, you'll see abstract, figurative. It doesn't have to be the same genre in order to harmonize together.
You've been a sculptor for quite a few years now. So how would you describe your own artistic style?
I don't know that I can answer that. I aspire to not be in a style. I have something to communicate, and even my studio practice is more consistent with not being tied to a style. I have something I'm trying to communicate, and I make decisions every step of the way about how I approach my project, what kind of design mixtures I use, how I'm modeling it. Is it coming from a mold? Is it carved? Is it direct? And that all is informed by what it is I'm trying to say. So I'm not thinking about a style or falling into a style, but it's evolving from what it is I want to say.
I think that's really a great answer. And I do know that when I look at your work, it just seems to me that there is a Katherine Stanek look to some of, not that it's the same work, or it's not eclectic, but you do have a quality to your work and a feel, and you do mostly figurative work. So I find that to be a good thing, that I look at your work and I go, wow, that's just amazing. Plus you've developed a lot of your own techniques over the years for doing this. Some of these techniques that other people had never used before. So that's just my personal opinion about your work. It's a compliment, Katherine.
It is a compliment. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You've recently been working on a very cool commission in Canton, Ohio. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
The commission is for the NFL Hall of Fame. There is the 100th anniversary coming up this September, and they are commemorating the most significant moments in NFL history. I have been asked to put a sculpture together for one of those significant moments, and the moment that I'm commemorating is honoring the 8 original owners and the formation of the AFL. And for those of you who aren't old enough, the AFL was once a separate entity from the NFL, and then they merged. So what I'm commemorating are the innovation of those members, this insight that they had and what they put together, and how it then merged into the NFL.
As everyone knows, this last month has been a real challenge for all businesses, not just the arts.
Yeah.
But the arts have been hit really hard. How have you and your staff handled this?
First and foremost, we've complied with all requirements. When they told us to close, we closed. What we looked at this as an opportunity to check in on our core values. Because when I opened the gallery, and what I set out to accomplish when I opened the gallery, I want to remain true to that. It defeats the purpose if I then change directions as an entity because of what's going on right now. So the first meeting that I had remotely, we had a conference call with the team, just to talk about what's our core values, and everything that we do from this point on has to be a building block for something that we're going to continue to do or build on when we reopen. So that's consisted of many things, variations on things we've already done, but we've moved it more digital, like a silent auction, which we just had a silent auction last night. We have First Friday, and we had a First Friday presentation of the silent auction silent auction items, as well as the current exhibition that it hasn't gotten its due. It had 2 days, and then we had to shut down. And a host of other things coming up that involve artist demos that we had yesterday with Julia Levitina. We'll have an artist studio Q&A with Deborah Fine, and so on. Online exhibitions. All of these things are things that we've talked about wanting to do, and now we're executing them in this context.
But I think we both agree that we're looking forward to when people can actually be in front of the artwork and meet the artist and everything else that goes with that. I think that you told me that's one reason you started a gallery.
It's exactly right. So that's part of our core values. Our core values, what we saw happening in the art world is art becoming more of a commodity and less about an experience. And art is to be experienced. It's a conversation, and you can't engage with that conversation on a 2-inch screen. And you certainly can't engage in that conversation if you have a 3-dimensional object and you're looking at it on a 2-dimensional system. So there's all sorts of things that you're missing, the details, the nuances, the depth, the quality that you're missing when you're looking at a screen. And I believe that you have to experience art in person in order to fully appreciate it, in order to fully engage, and for it to resonate enough for you to bring it into your home.
So I think a lot of artists, as you know, are struggling right now, and they're confused, and they're looking for ways not to get handouts, but to get support. And there's some grants out there, and there's some other things being touted. You've done a lot of research on that area, in that area. So what are some of the things you found out, and how did you do it?
Well, I actually set out searching for what I needed to do to keep the gallery going so that I can continue to pay the artists. And in the process of doing that, I was including in that search what independent contractors and self-employed can do, and shared that information with our artists. I haven't been focused exclusively on the independent contractor standpoint because I am trying to keep the gallery going. So my information for the individual artist isn't as thorough as what I would have for small business and gallery. But I can tell you that unemployment is something that I understand has been opened up, and there are other grants available for artists, but there's not a general appreciation for the full-time artist who's making their exclusive living off their art. There's not a full appreciation for what they've lost in everything that's shut down.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. In fact, some of the stuff you talked about, I'm going to have a link to underneath in the YouTube channel itself, because it's obvious that you kind of weeded out. There were a lot of things that just were dead ends, and I've had other artists tell me that. So you even said you did a town hall meeting online or something like that?
I attended a town hall meeting with my various local representatives, and they were informative because there's a lot of people in a similar situation, and they are taking a question and answer, and they ask the same questions that the artist would be asking about what they need to do next. And that's where I learned that they were encouraged to apply for unemployment that has been opened up to independent contractors and self-employed. And there are some grant opportunities that were out there.
I'm sure you've been in contact with a lot of your own artists. What's the vibe you're getting from them right now?
I have been in contact with many of our artists, and the vibe for them is no different than the vibe for anybody else. They're finding innovative ways to get by. They're taking it one day at a time, and they're trying to figure out how to get income generated so that they can get to some sort of normalcy down the line, whatever that normalcy looks like.
I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to coming one of your openings again and having that experience. I love your gallery, Katherine. You've done such a great job with that. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I suppose I would close with the thought that whatever it is that we have to do to get by, there are things that we don't want to completely abandon, mindsets that we don't want to completely abandon when we move on into the next phase, whenever and whatever that is. But we also, I'm looking forward to returning back to our core values and bringing people back into the gallery and including them in that experience, and no matter when that happens. And I'm anxious to see how people respond in light of everything that has happened to the artwork, and how much more that they will appreciate how relevant it is in how important it is in our lives.
Katherine, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I do know you're busy. This has been ArtC. I'm Bill Horn. Thanks for watching.